Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to go to page 1252. And before we go inside, let's just recap where we are. Good? Sarah, you want to do it? You've been here for all of them. Want to do it?
Me? No way.
Hi, how are you?
I don't think I'm-
Welcome back. Come sit there. Okay, so let's go where we are. Yeah? Ready? So we said as follows. The book of, and we'll do this quickly, the book of Esther is the perpetual book, the eternal book. The book of Esther's messages are always current. So it's not 1252. It's not the story of what was, right? It's a story of what will always be. Okay? That's how we're learning the book, because that's how the book was written, and that's its purpose. It's not the story of what was only, it's a story of what will always be. Good? So, was there an Ahashverosh? Yes. Was there a Vashti? Yes. Was there an Esther and Mordechai? Sure. And a Haman and a Bigtan V'Teresh and all the key players? Yes. But the way that we're going to learn it is the way that I believe it was meant to be studied, which is then and forever. Then and forever. Good? Not then plus, then and forever. Now, when you're going with a then and forever, it gets a little bit complicated from time to time. Okay? But we're going to stay with it, and we're going to stay on this path. So remember, when you read the Megillah, if you read it, to read the night of the holiday or whatever, it's fine to look at it as a recap of this miraculous event. That's fine. But if you look at it only that way, then it's not fine. So you have to put your feet on the ground and then jump into the air, both. Hey, Serena, how are you? Okay? Okay, beautiful. So we're going to recap. Achashverosh, very quick recap. Achashverosh, the brother of the snake. Achiv Shel Rosh, right? Achashverosh is the brother of the snake. Who was the snake? The snake was that force, that ongoing force in creation that is looking to create gray. What does the snake do to Adam and Chava? He creates gray. He says, you know what? Maybe, could be, not so bad, maybe good. And that's what we live in, right? We live in gray. Before the snake comes on the scene and they eat from the apple, right? Things were very clear. They were black and white, right? Things were either good or otherwise. Things were either okay or not. The snake comes on the scene, and what he does is he introduces doubt. He introduces question. He introduces confusion. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's the thing, right? It's the thing. And we work throughout human history to move that gray area, to shrink it, and shrink it more. For us, hi, how are you? For our lives to be more defined and more clear, okay? So when you think of the beginning of beginnings, and you think of the snake, so to speak, think of the entity that brought gray, that made life complicated. By the way, he also made life worth living, because if life wasn't gray, then there'd be no growth. Then there'd be no decisions to make. Then there would be no failure, right? So if there was no failure, there'd be nothing. There'd be no change. There'd be nothing dynamic, right? So the snake was a tough guy to deal with, but he did us a major service. Good? So far, so good? Great. Snake's baby brother. Snake's baby brother, Achashverosh, right? His baby brother. His baby brother now, he says, you know what? I want more than my brother. I want to corrupt the system, but I'm going to corrupt the system in a brilliant almost indistinguishable, undiscernible way. How am I going to corrupt the system? I'm going to take that fantastic balance that God Almighty, everybody recognizes God. I'm going to take the fantastic balance that God built into the world, which is I live 50% of my life in the spiritual and 50% in the physical. Now, is it absolutely black and white, spiritual, physical? Of course not. But basically speaking, our lives are 50% spiritual and 50% physical. And that's why we write, the rabbis write, Shabbat should be 50% to God and 50% to my family, dear friends, and myself. Yom Tov should be 50% to God in prayer, in learning, right? And it should be 50% to the things that make me happy, to a beautiful table, to a beautiful meal. There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly the system. Good? Now, what does Achashverosh do? He comes on in the scene and he said, if I could just move things from a 50-50 to a little bit more physical, game over. God's out of the picture and we won. How is that? Because if the physical trumps the spiritual by even a couple of percentage points, then that's where a person is focused. And that's what he or she is chasing. And then what happens? We don't have a God-focused life or a Torah-focused life. We have a good life with God. We have a good life with Torah. Is it catastrophically bad? It's great. We're better than most people. But is it a Torah-built life? In other words, do I start my day saying, how am I going to build my Torah today? And then I build everything else in? No. I start my day with saying, these are my tasks for the day, right? 50% physical went up a little bit. These are my tasks for the day. This is what I have to achieve. Oh, and I'm going to go do chesed. I'm going to go to a class. It's something I do, something I engage in. It's not who I am, and it's not what defines me. And in fact, it's absolutely how we all live, right? That's the truth. So Achashverosh was pretty successful then, and he's still very successful. And the reason we have this holiday is because we're still dealing with Achashverosh every single hour of every single day. And the reason that the holiday and the reading of this story will perpetuate even beyond the time of Mashiach is even though there's somewhat of a recalibration, when Mashiach comes, we'll still have these challenges. Yeah.
That's why the baby love is extraordinary.
Right.
Because it sets the scene that there's no firm groundedness.
Yes. Excellent. Good. So far, so good. That's a review. Good. Review point, next one, and then we'll go into new stuff. Two more quick review points. Vashti, right? Vashti is the Alta enemy. She is the one who comes out into the open and says, enough with this baby stuff. Enough with this. There's no God. There's no world to come. There's no reward and punishment. It's all a hoax. It's the opiate of the masses. It's all kinds of that. We're going to do an out and out frontal assault on religion, and we're taking it down. Well, you played hooky for 2 weeks, so tough nuggies. We have it recorded though, huh? Right, but when you read, right, it's she wants to take it out on Achashverosh also, but if you read go back on those handful of psukim, those verses related to Vashti, who called her the king? Whenever we say the word king, we mean God. We don't refer to Achashverosh unless his word is placed there as well. Most of the exchange with Vashti has nothing to do with Achashverosh. It has everything to do with God. So if you look at the psukim, at the verses, carefully, you see that the overwhelming exchange was between her and God, with a sideshow going on with Achashverosh. So when she decides, I'm not coming there, what she does is she's telling God, I'm not being held accountable for my sins. And I should be accountable for my grandfather, who was a mass murderer, Nebuchadnezzar's sins. I should be accountable for him as well because I perpetuated his evil, right? If someone perpetuates the evil of a parent or grandparent, right? Hi, wow, unbelievable. Oh, this is great, great. Why don't you sit right here? Awesome. I heard you told, Beautiful. Okay, great. Linda, it's great to have you. We missed you. Okay, beautiful. I heard you told your daughter, Linda, that she was talking too much in the class, huh? That was a classic. That was a classic. Only a mother could say that to her scholar daughter. That was a classic. They're the best. They're the best. Okay, so, huh?
She's coming now.
Okay, great. Sarah, when you look back at the psukim, you're going to see that the verses are overwhelmingly focused between her and God. What is Vashti's platform? Vashti's platform is there ain't no God. By the way, Vivian, your mother said you can speak in today's book. That there isn't any God, and she wants to crash the system. What did we say? Achashverosh doesn't want that. Why doesn't he want it? Because that blows his cover. Good. Step 3, they send out a proclamation to bring the ne'arot. They send out a proclamation to bring the maidens to the capital, right? The way we explain that, we'll just explain it a little bit more, is that the ne'ara is the soul part of the person, right? That's the soul, as opposed to the goof, the body. So when it says the melech, the king, sends out a proclamation to gather together all of the ne'arot, all of the neshamot, all of the souls. What God is doing is he's setting the stage for the redemption. He's putting in place those subtle, quiet forces in the world that now he can tap, right? He can tap them. And this is a very, very important point. Throughout history, even though God says, when you're in the diaspora, I'm going to be overwhelmingly hidden, he's constantly planting sources of salvation. He's planting points of energy. He's planting infrastructure. So, like someone, Abdil, would be planning for the future, right? They build an extra strong foundation. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing constantly. And that's the method. So whenever we see a challenge, we have to understand that a massive response for that challenge was already placed into the system. So when we say that the Melech, i.e. God, is in gathering the Na'arot, the maidens, what he's in gathering is those pure, pristine forces of good that Esther and Achashverosh will tap into. Okay, so far? Great, okay. One more step, next step. Yeah. That's what happens when you play hooky.
I would have explained it the same way.
Oh, and she was here. She's there. She's there. Okay. All righty. So let's go to chapter 2. Yeah. Let's go to chapter 2, Pasuk 9. We'll do a little more review. We're not going to go heavily to this point, but
Maybe like that will be happening.
right. That's what we say, right? Yes. Yeah, that's what it'd be, right? Because most of the other books will have already been realized and go away. Okay, but Titav and Arab Einav, who wants to read it in English? Verse 9, chapter 2.
Bottom line.
I don't know.
1253, the bottom line.
Want to read it?
The girl pleased him, and she obtained his kindness. He hurriedly prepared her cosmetics from allowances of delicacies to present her along with the 7 special maids from the palace, and he transferred her and her maidens to the best quarters in the harem.
It's fantastic. This is fantastic, right? Talk to me. Do you see Achashverosh's name in this verse? It's not here. Okay, again, we're on 2:9. We don't see Achashverosh's name in this verse. What page is it again?
1253.
1253, bottom of the page?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Batitav hana'ara be'enav. The maiden found favor in his eyes. We're not sure whose eyes yet, but remember, we're reading it on the basic level and on the eternal level. Batisa chesed lefanav. What does that mean? She elevated chesed before him. She elevated chesed before him, meaning what? What would you say? Come on, what does it mean? She elevated chesed.
Somehow beauty.
Right, beautiful. And what do we call chesed? What is chesed? How do we explain it? We said chesed is the absolute interconnection of absolutely everything. When you step up somewhat, the way that our rabbis describe chesed is the absolute interconnection of everything in existence. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything, he connected everything because it was one creator, one artist, one engineer. Everything is interconnected with God then sitting above, us sitting below, connected to it, right? So why do we help people? Because we're connected to them. Why do we care about what happens in another part of the world if people are hurt? Why should we care if there's a landslide in some country and people will never know we're hurt? Why should we care? We should care because we're connected to them. Why should we care if there's something that happens to the climate? Why should we care about that? Why should we care about anything other than our immediate world, right? We care about everything in different proportions, but we care about everything because we're connected to everything. That's chesed. So, batitav hana'ara be'enav. Who's good? Which na'ara? We're talking about Esther as a young lady. She's tov. What does tov mean? Huh? She's perfectly imperfect. When we see the word tov, it means perfectly imperfect. What does that mean?
Balance.
Balance and with what? Beautiful. Add something to it.
Where's the word tov?
Vatitav.
Vatita.
Good. With a mandate to grow. So that's Vayat Hashem ki tov. Throughout creation, when we use those words, right? We understand it's perfectly imperfect, i.e., God brought it to a point where it was at a state of perfection plus, not perfection minus. It was perfection plus where women could pick up the ball and build further. So Titav hana'ara be'enav. She's primed, Esther. She's good. She's perfectly imperfect, ready to assume a mantle of leadership. But Tisach chesed lefanav. And she uplifted chesed. Yeah. Fantastic. Now the scale is being tipped back. Yes. Yeah. It's an awesome question. When we said that, Vahi Omen et Esther ben Dodo, right? When he was forming her, when he was, and Oman is a craftsman, right? We said when he was forming her as his niece, I mentioned briefly that the rabbis hold 2 possibilities in a situation like this. When a tzaddik is building a Sadiq. So the younger will exceed the greatness of the teacher, right? When a person of remarkable capacity is building a person of remarkable capacity, the student will outshine the teacher. If the student was not of outstanding capacity, the student will be as good as the teacher. Now, what we're going to evaluate either this week or next is, where is Esther? Is she the shining star here? Is she the champion with Mordechai as the number 2? Or is it the opposite? In other words, did she exceed her teacher? Was she the tzaddiket who became greater than her teacher? Or, you're all women, and of course you're going to say, of course you did. Okay, no, just kidding. We're gonna hold that she did as well. But let's go with the model first, right? Sadiq, right? Number 2 exceeds number 1. Sadiq, good, fine quality. Number 2 will not pass number 1. And that's very important here, because when you see things like Mordechai blows the cover of Bigtan and Teresh, the 2 no-goodniks, supposedly, we'll see, who were looking to kill the king Ahasuerus, right? And he finds out about their plot. And what does he do? He takes it to Esther, but Taged the Esther, he editorializes it to her, and she takes it to the king. That's a little bit of a tip-off on our pecking order here. Who was greater than whom? But we're going to see that more clearly as we go. Okay. Vayvaher et tamrukeha ve'et manoteha latetna. That they gave her all she needed. They gave Esther all she needed in the house of Haggai. We'll talk about him later on. They gave her all she needed. What do our rabbis say about this? She was engaged in the concept of parush min hamutad. She was engaged in the concept of separating from something permissible. What does that mean? Parush min hamutad, to separate from something permissible. What does that mean? Very big concept in Judaism. Right, but now I'm separating the good from the good. I'm separating the good from the good. And why is that her first step? What would you say? We have a very interesting concept, and that is, in order to be kadosh, in other words, in order to be in that separate little beautiful bubble with God, right? A person has to look at his or her current life and say, there are things that I'm doing that are 100% okay. There's nothing halachically wrong with X. According to Jewish law, nothing is wrong with X. But me engaging in X hurts me, confuses me. And I'm not going to do it because I need to protect me. And that's a massive step in a person's life. It's ongoing, of course. Again, we're not allowed to make up halachot. This is a very big discussion in Judaism. The rabbis have a very serious time at this, because we have Torah-based law, hundreds of mitzvot, drop down rabbinic-based law, thousands of mitzvot, and then I go ahead and I decide I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Who are you? Who are you to take on this or that? Who are you to dismiss this or that? Who are you to say you're not going to enjoy this element of the world or that one? So the rabbis struggle with it. But the rabbis come to a very interesting place. And they say that the entry point to growth is not Torah mitzvot. It's not. The entry point to growth is me and me. And me calling out certain things in my life, people, places, and engagements, whatever it might be, calling out certain things in my life that hurt me, that confuse me, that take me off my game. And I'm going to start my road to build myself. And this is all going on continually, right? By being aware enough and courageous enough to say, this is 100% okay according to halakha. but I'm not doing it. Because right now, this serves me wrong. It serves me wrong. That's great. That's great. Great. Takes a lot of courage, takes a great level of awareness. Good. So, Vayivahel et tamrukeha vet banoteha. Our rabbis say that she removed any negative traits, Esther, but more important than that, she was Pedusha min hamutad. She made certain decisions that if I want to move my life in a certain direction, even though something is okay for everybody and was okay for me and will always be okay according to Jewish law, I'm still going to separate from it. Now, this is it's a very big topic. I'll just touch on one more point here. We call this type of person, often, we call this type of person a chassid, a saintly person. But this is not so simple, because we have the concept of chassid shoteh, which means a chassid who is doing the wrong thing, a chassid who has gone too far. So this is a very careful and sensitive balancing act. We don't dismiss it. We could have easily dismissed it and said that between the thousands of halachot we have, nobody should take on anything additional, but we don't. We actually say it's the launch point and starting point for growth. But then we qualify it and we say saintliness gone too far is destructive. So like anything else, we need the awareness on both sides of the issue. I need the awareness to engage it, and I need the awareness to control it. And that's what we say Esther did here. Bet sheva hane'arot hareuyot latet la mibet hamelech. Spectacular. And the 7 souls that were worthy of being given to her from whose house? No, Bet HaMelech. Right, there ain't no Achashverosh here. So 1 second, we began to discuss this last week. We're not going to go into it in depth, but we'll just touch on it again, right? She removes the stuff that trips her up. She removes it, right? Good. Now she's growing. We need her to grow to a certain level to be our princess, to be our advocate. And even in the last minute, she almost breaks, right? We see at the last minute, she almost breaks. She's grown immensely, but she's an inch away from failing, like any great person is at that absolute moment of truth, right? When we say, Abraham Avinu took Yitzchak, and then he would say, okay, it's cool, I'm going to slaughter my son. Of course it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. It was horrific until the last minute and later. So we say that what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? And we talked about this last time. He gives her access to the 7 spheres of awareness, the 7 spheres of connection that the highest level people can engage.
How does she almost trip up?
Huh?
How does she almost?
In the end, she almost doesn't do it. She says she doesn't want to do it. Okay, so let's keep moving. Okay, let's go ahead now. Chol yom bayom. Go to pasuk 11. Chol yom bayom. Mordechai mitalef lifnei chatzer bet hanashim. Dadat et shalom Esther uma ya'aseh la. Every day, I'm in verse 11. Every single day, b'chol yom bayom, Mordechai would walk in the chatzer bet hanashim. Where was he walking? Right, but where exactly? Was he walking into the building? No, excellent. Excellent. He was walking outside the palace. What does that mean? Remember, we didn't mention Achashverosh here. We're still talking in our, 20,000 feet story, right? So where is he walking? Chol yom vayom. And when we call something a chatzer, what does that mean? And what does da'at mean?
Boundary between him and what's not yours.
Okay, nice. So the chatzer is an outer place, right? It's a little bit of an outer place. And what is da'at?
Knowledge, knowing.
So da'at is,
Because he's
Being
being
further.
further languages and he's gaining knowledge.
right,
There.
good. So what's the word da'at mean? I want you to work further. Work a little more. Chokhmah means knowledge, right? Bina, understanding, and da'at is what? Relationship. La da'at, right? How it all works, right? You take chokhmah, wisdom, you add bina, understanding, and that yields the ability to relate. So what's happening here? B'chol yom vayom, what happens in the daytime as opposed to at night? Chacham Vivian, what happens in the day? She's killing herself with this whole approach.
The what the it's a lot of it. I also
Awesome. So talk. Your mother said you could talk. Go ahead, B'chavod. Right, we touched on the parallel last week, right? When one of you, maybe it was you, said, En la'ava'em. We said, who are the only people that didn't have a mom and dad? Adam and Chava, good. So what happens during the daytime? There's clarity, there's discernment, right? As opposed to Erev or Laila. Erev is a time of confusion, evening, dusk, nightfall. And Laila is a time of lack of control, is a time of negative forces, competing for space. He's mit-halech. I'm going to just lower that heater drum. What is to be mit-halech? What does mit-halech mean? What is mit-halech? What is halacha? Moving, growing, right? So when you're mit-halech during the day, what does that mean? Right. So he's watching her growth, and he's mit-halech. He's mit-halech. He's shepherding her growth. Just everybody tell dear Sally a deep thank you for all the warmth and hospitality. Thank you. Thank you so much. Such a sweet, unreal person. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
who told you that you were available? Being hot heads, first time you see you were Haman.
Right.
That's really a thing or not. Maybe there's a whole.
Maybe you think it's a maybe? What do you think? Come on, you're being too nice. We know it's not a maybe. We know it's not a maybe. Yeah, we know it's not a maybe, right? Good. Could it be much more obvious than it is? It can't be that much more obvious than it is, right? It's shouting with the same language. Right. That, right. All the key points, we're touching them. Beautiful, love it. Et shalom Esther umaya asela. What does that mean? Shalom Esther. What is shalom? Peace. But when we reference peace, what are we talking about? Shlemut, right? Alami, i.e. on based on what? Where do we really understand the term shalom in reference to an individual?
Shalom, Adon.
Adon is Odef Shalom. Give me one more. Shalem. Okay, give me one more. Pinchas. Great, Mazal. How do we understand it in terms of Pinchas? She was very quiet also until now. Let's go. How do we understand it in terms of Pinchas? Natati et briti shalom. What does that mean? Netato et briti shalom. What does that mean? I can't hear you. Yeah, Zamir Cosby, right? He spares them, right? There's a massive outcry against him. You're the judge, the jury, and the executioner, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu sides with him. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him a treaty, a covenant of peace. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I think the covenant of peace is in spite of, despite, because like you said, he went too far, because he took his powers and his abilities and he used them to the extent and he didn't fully little bit. So the Beit Shalom maybe isn't a gift, it may be something to temper your.
Very nice. Very nice. Otherwise, he couldn't live with himself. He couldn't live with himself.
Justifying the people, like I was saying, he did it just.
Yes, yes,
And I want you to live your life in peace.
that's right.
You did it right.
Peace.
I wish the opposite. I think he wasn't, he went how far, and how far. We're not supposed to be talking.
Okay, Mazal, explain the circumstances.
What happened was, in the previous parasha, they wanted to us Israel.
Speak up a little louder.
Die in a spiritual sense, and they're trying to figure out a way to do so. So they try to curse them, but it doesn't work out. Each curse becomes a blessing. So in the end of the parasha, like, you know what? Why are you working so hard? Let's just send a bunch of women to seduce the men, and then these men will pray to the Avodah Zarah because it was part of the ritual of being with the women. And then Hashem, then unfortunately they fell in that sin. And then Magefa, a plague, came and wiped out a nice amount of the Jewish people on the Mizrach. And one of the main men of the tribe of Shimon, Zimri,
He was the head of the
he
tribe.
was the head of the tribe. So you're looking at, like, imagine a big rabbi, he was a very important man. He saw one of the Midianite princes and he slept with her in an open air. And then Moshe was overwhelmed. The halacha, what to do, escaped him because he was so, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Pinchas, I think it's the grandson of Aharon.
Grandson, yeah.
He took a spear, a very long spear. He went and he killed them both with one spear. Now.
And he lifts them up somehow on the spear, and the plague stops.
And it's like a step. Once you lift the snake and you look up, you see it, everyone heals. So once he killed Kosabi and Zimri, he stopped dying. So what happened was people were very, the people in the Midbar were asking, well, we did it right to kill people, we had faith. And at the end of the day, Hashem had to come and say, you know what he did was just, and I'm going to bless him with B'riti Shalom. Over here, we're referencing why it says Shalom. Where else do we see Shalom in the Torah? We're trying to connect it to.
Beautiful.
So that it's Shalom is still in my. But I'm still not really sure how it connects to.
I'm with you. And I'm going to tell you, right, good. Because I want you to add one other piece to it. Kanai does what? Pogea. What does he do, right? Right? Isn't that the deen? Yeah. So a zealot at a point of a communal, a public emergency, a zealot must act. This is very important, right? The Kanai, the person who is jealous for the greatness of God, who is a zealot, who is he or she must act. So, baby, how would you tie that into this?
That was a one-time thing.
Good.
Scenario.
But tie to me here. Here.
Say, but if you're gonna be my Cohen, and you're the one who holds the office of the priesthood, you can't constantly be Rambo.
Okay, but she's taking on the shalom now. We're giving it to her.
So I guess she's going to be another way, playing the people back.
1 second. Let's go one step further. Yeah.
What she did, that's that being like, that's a major step forward in believing in Hashem.
That's right.
Maybe also Vashti, to go and do what he said, to come out not dressed or whatever. Also did something. They're both women, but they both things that really reflect that.
Right. Okay. Good.
That once
Huh?
you go to the extreme level,
Right.
is what we need.
Right. Now, so we're endowing her extremism. That's right. That's right. She quit. Without shalom, she's finished. If she doesn't have this peace of mind, one thing, here's what we're gonna do. First of all, on the minor level, we're gonna have these two guys hung who were planning on going against the king. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're gonna have them hung. No problem. We're hanging them on a tree. By the way, that's the tree. We'll talk about the tree a little later on with Haman and his sons, right? That's the tree. Okay. We're going to do that. We're going to cancel Passover. We're canceling it for a 3-day fast. We're going to do that. And then we're going to demand that the Jews take up arms all over this empire and kill anybody and everybody. How can a person?
It's all sanctioned. It's not just a crazy wild person acting on.
Exactly.
There's a long path, there's a way to get it done, and maybe the Torah doesn't want to say everybody who have a license to be like Zimri.
Beautiful.
You have to do it. Process that needs to be followed.
Excellent.
They follow the process here.
Excellent. But you have to have shalom. What does that mean? Why did she have to have shalom in order to inspire the process, in order to initiate the process? She's our gal. She's our champion, right? So what does the shalom do for her? What do they say when you're waging a war, right? When you're waging a war, what do you say? We go to the end. We go to the end. If you don't go to the end, then you failed. What? Huh? Excellent, right? She almost romps it. We need her to have shalom. 100%. But he's helping her. She's our champion. He can't be the champion. We'll talk more about he can't be the champion. She can be the champion. But in order for her to be the champion, she needs shalom. Because right, okay, she's married to Hashverosh. She has to be, when you say go in there and bomb this village in Gaza. How do you, isn't that difficult to do? Don't you know that women and children are going to be killed? Yes. Don't you know your own children are going to be 10,000 wounded, beautiful Jewish soldiers? 10,000? Is that the most horrific thing you can imagine? Just about. It is. So if you're a commander or you're a prime minister or you're an officer in the government at a time like this, do you need shalom? Can you function without it? You can barely function with it. How do you send people into a machine gun? How do you send them into doing that? We don't even know. We're talking where it's like a joke, the level we're saying it on. But I want you to get the sense of what Vivian Mazal is saying. Pinchas had his moment of greatness. Hi, how are you? How are you? Pinchas had his moment of greatness, but had he not had shalom, that would have been the end of him. He wouldn't have continued his lineage of leadership. So she needs shalom, yeah. Yes. Yes, we hold that way. That for some reason, a woman, and I'm saying this in a positive sense, the highest element of creation, the woman, brought on gray, and Nachash brought on gray, and a woman has to be the champion against gray. And by the way, that's the forever model. The forever model is that when things get difficult, it's always the Geulah, the redemption is always a result of a woman's effort. Always started by the women. Always. It can't be any other way. It won't be any other way. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is elevation. They were.
Yeah. Excellent. Good. Okay. Oh, yes. What does that mean? Excellent. What does that mean?
Order.
So now she's the one that used the same powers she had as well. It's the same person. It's just like incentive. It's the same thing about.
That's right. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, jump ahead to verse 19. Bikabetz betulot shenit. Now Esther marries the king. He decides he wants to marry her. And then what does he do? Go to verse 19. Bihikabetz betulot shenit u'mordechai yoshev b'sha'ad hamelech. Where was he before? He was in the Hatzer Bet Hanashim. Now he's at the gates
Melech Hashem.
of Melech Hashem. Beautiful. What's going on here? Well, let's see. The Betulot we're talking about are who? We're gonna use the words. Well, what's the difference? You tell me. You know what the difference is. What is the difference between a Na'ara and Betula? Very important difference. Who just becomes an adult, right? 12 years and a day or two, right? She's already an adult, right? She's already an adult and she hasn't been with anybody, right? Beautiful. So, Bikabetz Betulot Shenit. What are we talking about here now? If we're saying that this is the implanting of the salvation of the Yeshua, we moved from Ne'ara to Betula. What does that mean? That's right. We're upping the game. Very good. Yes. Umordechai Yoshev, where? Where is he sitting? In Sha'ar HaMelech. What does that mean? Remember, he's Ben Yair, Ben Shim'i, Ben Kish. He's the guy who can hammer on the gates of the heavens, right? That's how we described him, right? So where is he sitting now? He's preparing to bang on the gates of heaven. Esther he's preparing to bang on the gates of the heavens. Umordechai Yoshev B'Sha'ad HaMelech. He's sitting now with the word Yoshev. When we use the word Yoshev in this context, Ish Tam Yoshev Ohalim, right? When we use the word Yoshev, what are we saying? Is he hanging around? He's firming and growing. How is he growing? We say he's Torah growing, right? He's learning. It's a Torah basis. Yeshiva, a yeshiva. Why do we call yeshiva a yeshiva? Why don't we call it something else? Because the word lashevet, yoshev, in this context means to learn Torah, to grow in Torah. Yeshiva, right? Lashov, good. So he's yoshev b'sh'ar hamelech. Means what? He's just about ready. Okay, he's just about ready. Esther doesn't tell who she is. We'll talk about that later on. Okay, skip to verse 21. Okay, who wants to read in English? Bayamim Mahem, 2:21. Bayamim Mahem, you want to read? Okay, you're in the hot.
In those days, until Mordechai was sitting at the king's gates, Bigtan and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains of the guardians of the threshold, became angry and plotted to lay hands on King Ahasuerus.
Okay. Now what do you want to do?
Now
Now we're back to Ahasuerus. Good. So let's explain it on the short level, on the straight up level, and then we'll jump off the page somewhat. Okay. So on the straight up level, how do you want to explain it? Remember, where is he sitting? He's still sitting at the gates of the king, right? He's still sitting at the gates of the king. Beautiful. Great. And what happens? Two of the kings, they say that Bigtan and Teresh were in charge of the shifts. There were 3 shifts in the king's palace. They were in charge of 2 of them. So they knew all the goings on, who came and left, what they did. They were really the senior vice presidents of Ahasuerus's palace and infrastructure. Good. What do they want to do? they want to, the Shloach Yad, the Melech Hashverosh, right? They want to do something to him, right? Now, what's the deal here? What's going on? We can't stay exact to the shot, to the basic thing, but we need to understand what are they doing? Why do they want to kill him? Why do we care? Why did Mordechai save him? What's going on here? What do you think?
God is Hashem is setting it up again for God's power and
Right.
the book.
Beautiful. So on Pshat level, God is giving Mordechai the opportunity. Mordechai is taking the opportunity to be in a position of favor and power. Good? Yeah. So what? Yeah. He's vulnerable for a coup. Good. Right.
He's not Yoshua.
Right. Now, our rabbis say an interesting thing. They say that Patan and Teresh, again, on the Pshat level, on the core level, they say that the plan was to take out Ahashverosh, then Esther, then Mordechai. The plan wasn't simply to take out Ahashverosh. They wanted total control. They see she's in the palace. He's in the gates of the king, right? Again, we're doing this for a minute on the Pshat level. He's by the gates of the palace, right? In other words, that was a esteemed place, an exalted place. So their plan was, we take out Ahashverosh, we have to take out Esther, she's too powerful, and we take out Mordechai, right? So, no. Right. We didn't get to Haman yet. Right, beautiful. Right, completely different enemy. Very good. So that's what we see now. Mordechai is tipped off to this, right? He's tipped off to it. He spoke 70 languages. He spoke that language, whatever it might have been. He got Ruach HaKodesh. Our rabbis go back and forth on this. There's an argument in Masechet Megillah on this point, whether he got Ruach HaKodesh, he got divine inspiration, or he had prophecy, or he overheard them, or whatever it might have been. The implications of that conversation are how God-driven was this event? Okay. Let's now jump off the page, right? Go to our little playground. So where is he? Bayamim hahem. Mordechai Yoshev b'shar hamelech, right? In the days when he's doing what in Shar HaMelech? We said he's growing, right? He's immersing in Torah at the gate of the king, at the doorway of the king, i.e., the big king, God, right? Big Katsaf, Big Tan, Bateresh, Shnei, Sirisei Hamelech, B'Shomrei Hasaf. What's going on here? Right, good. So, right, it should be, yeah, nice.
I know you said it had nothing to do with Haman, but where God said, well, when we kill them Elohim, where God says, Yad al Kes Yad. The reason that we have to destroy Amalek is because they have seed of God.
Nice.
So what they're really trying to do is shake Ahashverosh from shot. It might be like Amalek is trying to dethrone
Nice.
their hands.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you're connecting them to Haman.
They or Amalek was without however, but I think there's a strong reference.
Nice.
with
Okay.
that terminology. He said, God.
Okay. It's nice. It's nice.
But is he even vulnerable now? Is that what-
That Ahashverosh was
Yeah.
vulnerable. Yes, he was
That's-
definitely vulnerable. Excellent. Yes, he was definitely vulnerable. Now,
That's why we have destroyed Amalek.
good. So beautiful. So talk to me about Bigtan and Teresh. Now jump all the way up, 20,000 feet. It could be Beged Bagadnu, or it could be Gat. Begat. What is a Gat? What is a Gat? It's what? Mazal, what's a Gat? It's a cellar. It's a cavern. It's a gut is where it's like a stone well, a natural fissure, a natural hole in the ground that we,
Cistern.
it's what?
A cistern.
Cistern, thanks, Amy. A cistern, great.
It
Who
was
was that?
Leslie, but okay, I'll let Amy take credit for my word.
Sorry, Leslie. All right, thank you. A cistern, perfect. Great. It's a cistern, right?
It was
have-
Leslie. Okay.
we have a cistern. We're referencing the name and maybe in the context of a cistern, a hole, an empty place, a hollow place, and teresh. What is rash? Rash is what, Lalenu? Rash is ani. Ani, a poor person, is rash. Good. Now, if katzach, they jumped. We jumped. Now we're talking on the metaphysical level, right? This cistern, this cavern, this empty place, and this poverty, Lalenu. The two ministers of the king. What's going on here? All right, this is a hard one. I think it's the hardest one. I think it's the hardest one. What do you got? Bagat, right? Gat, the cistern, right? Good. He's sitting, Mordechai is sitting B'Shat HaMelech. Now he's confronted by these two things. What is he confronted by? He's confronted by a hole, emptiness, right? And he's confronted by poverty, right? What does that mean?
He has a premonition, maybe.
He has a premonition something bad is going to happen, right? Good.
They had sold, my sister was sold and the other bought.
Good, 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 good. What? No, but what happens when there's a board? What happens, right?
There's no way.
What did they say? Borek, right? Good. And what was there? All the life-threatening things. All the life-threatening things, right? So it's a cistern. It's empty. It's cold. It's dark. You can't get out. And it's rash. It's ani lo alenu. It's impoverished. What is he sensing? That their plan is not going to work. It's not working. He's sitting in Shad HaMelech and he sees it's not working. Yeah, it's not working. It's not his plan. Mordechai's plan is not working, right? He's very concerned. Vayivada hadavar leMordechai. Vayivada. And it became known to him. Hadavar. What does davar mean? What is davar doing here? It's the wrong word. Huh? It should be diburim. It should be their conversation. It should be the threat. It shouldn't be the davar. So what is he saying when we say the davar? Something that was elaborated. Excellent. And then what does he do? What does he do? Vayaged Esther Hamalka. What's going on here? He's giving her what?
He's giving her information.
He's giving her information. And what's happening? What's taking shape?
Change the plan, it sounds like.
He maybe wants to change the plan. The plan is failing, and i.e. what? It's it's her, not him. He is not going to get there. He is not going to get there. But Vayaged Esther Hamalka, it's a bombshell. It's an absolute bombshell. Why? Because they use the word Vayaged. What does that mean? It means he may or may not have even told her the specifics of what happened. Vayaged Haggadah, V'yigadat bincha, right? We read the Haggadah. We tell over Torah to our children, right? On Leil Pesach, right? On the night of Pesach. By the way, do you have to actually read the Haggadah on the night of Pesach? Of course not. You have to say the berachot, but do you have to read the Haggadah the way it's written? Of course you don't. What you have to do is you have to share your Torah with your children. Rabbi Soloveitchik famously writes that, of course, he would do all the berachot on the 4 cups of wine and the matzah, the maror, all of that. But then he would talk about halakha. He would talk about Jewish law throughout the night because that was his playground. That was his Torah. So when you see the word vayagid, it means we're not talking about the details as they happened at all. We're talking about editorials. We're talking about understanding. We're talking about interpretation. It is not at all tethered, not at all, I shouldn't say not at all. It doesn't have to be tethered to exactly what happened. It's how Mordechai is interpreting what's going on. And who does he tell it to? Esther Hamalka, right? Now she's a different lady. She's the Malka, right? Beautiful. But Tomer Esther the Melech b'Shem Mordechai. Pause here. What does that mean? But Tomer Esther the Melech b'Shem Mordechai.
So maybe the queen is not just that she's the queen, it's that she maybe was elevated, or she was aware, or she grew at that point.
Excellent,
She was
right.
ready to receive it.
That's right.
Well, she
We
went
s-
from a Na'ad to Betula to a queen.
That's right. She goes from Nara B'Tulah to Queen. Very nice. And I had to say I have to say it. And what do we say? We learn it from here. But we don't think about it here. We say that somebody who says over an idea in the name of its author does what? Judy, where did that come from? It's tied to here. Beautiful. Very good. So now, good. So what's happening here?
Well, this was the whole setting of the stage we were trying to. Because she told Hashem Mordechai, later on, the Dashna Kamelech, when he wakes up in the night, well, oh, I forgot, I didn't prepare Mordechai, then the whole scale.
Excellent. Now, excellent on the pshat level. Perfect. That's a pshat gadash. That's a hybrid, right? Good. Now go way out there and we'll wrap up with this. Go all the way out there. That's right. It's the plane ride. Yeah.
Oh, that just me earlier, in the lecture earlier, you said this is how you opened up the class. You were saying that what Hashem does is he sends the stage and he puts the spiritual lights in place, right?
Right.
The Ma'alot,
Yes.
the Ma'alot. So here what happens is that Hashem is already setting the stage for later on to get to that.
Excellent.
That's what you're trying to.
Excellent. But Tomer Esther Melech b'Shem Mordechai. A tip off, everybody. Ring the bell real loud. The mantle has been transferred from one to the other. But she knows who her Sadiq teacher is. But it's a Vayagid. It's not, he is still building her. He didn't tell her point by point what happened. He's building her. He's grooming her. She understands that. She's beginning to understand it. And she, Vatomer Esther la Melech. Who's the Melech? Hashem, right? She could have told it to Achashverosh as well, right? She could have told it to Achashverosh as well, right? We said on a grade level, she told it to Achashverosh as well, but she stands before Kadosh Baruch Hu now, and she starts to proclaim her readiness to take the lead. Because it's clear, Vatomer Esther Lamelech b'Shem Mordechai. She went before God based on the actions. Remember we said Shemo, Mordechai, Ben Yair, Ben Shimi, and so on. The Shem means the action. So based on the actions of Mordechai, she's in a different place. She's stepping up. She's the Malka, and we're ready to move the story to the next level. Shalom is mostly when there's peace between you and yourself. Yeah, yes. Say that.